Hey guys, welcome to another Gauging Gadgets Garmin Instinct tutorial video. In this video, I'm going to do a system settings overview and also show you how you configure them to your liking. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we need to do to get into the system settings is hold down the menu button, then scroll down and select settings. Once we're in settings, we'll scroll all the way down until we see system. Select system. Now we're in the system settings. So the first setting that we can configure in here is going to be language. You could change the language that is on the device pretty quickly by finding it in the list here and then selecting it using the GPS button. Next in the system settings we have time, and here we can select the format of the time, and the available options are 12-hour, 24-hour, and military. Next we can also set the time. We can decide if it's going to be automatic or manual, and if you select manual, then you can go down to time and actually configure it here. I'm going to select automatic. Next in time we can set up alerts. You can have an alert trigger if it's 10 minutes before sunset or 10 minutes before sunrise. It's actually really cool. And then you can also have it alert you if it senses a storm is near you, and that'll be by the barometer on the watch. Next we can update the time really quickly using GPS, and this is something that you need to do if you use the sunset and sunrise on the watch. I found that it does not automatically update until you sync it with GPS. That's all we have in time. Scrolling down we have backlight, and so in the backlight settings there are two different scenarios that you can configure the settings for. One is going to be during an activity, if you're going for a run or working out. Next is going to be just when the watch is in normal mode, so if you're using it just as a watch for notifications, things like that. So in here we'll have the ability to configure if the backlight turns on if you press any of the keys on the watch. Then we also have it where you can configure if alerts will turn on the backlight. You can have gesture mode turned off, which is basically if you turn the watch facing you, it'll turn the backlight on. I'm going to turn that on. And then you can also have that only for after sunset, which is pretty cool, so I'll do that. Next we can configure the timeout settings for the backlight. This is how long the backlight stays on once it's been turned on. As you can see, you can have it stay on for a pretty long time, including no timeout, which will just constantly have the backlight on. That's going to run your battery down. And then after that, we can configure the brightness. I have mine at 100% right now just for this tutorial, but I keep it at about 20%, and I find that that is perfect for all usage. And it also conserves the battery. So that's it for backlight. After that, we can configure sounds. And as you can see, the key tones I have turned off, and that kind of just turns them on and off for hitting any buttons. So as you can see, now that it's on, it makes a noise every time I hit a button. I'm going to turn that off just so I don't get annoying. We can also configure if alerts will have tones. I have it turned on during activities right now, but you can have it turned on all the time or completely have it off. Vibration, I do like to have the vibration for notifications, but this is where you could also turn that on or off. And then key vibrations, you could have it so that the watch vibrates every time you hit a button, which would be pretty annoying in my opinion. After that, we can configure Do Not Disturb. You can turn it on or off. And then down here, you can configure if the Do Not Disturb will be turned on or off during your sleep time that's configured in the Garmin Connect app. You do not have the ability to configure this sleep time on the watch. After Do Not Disturb, we have Hotkeys, and this is where you can configure what each of these buttons do if you hold them down. So as you can see currently, if I hold down the GPS button, it's going to bring up the GPS and start acquiring a satellite, but I can change that to any application that I want. So I can have it change it to a timer real quick. So if I select that, then go out real quick, hold down the GPS button, it's going to bring up timers, which is pretty cool. Let's go through the list here so you can see what can be pre-arranged. And then you have the ability to configure all of the other buttons. Plus you can have combinations of buttons. So if you hold down the GPS button plus the down button, which is ABC, you can have it open up different items, which is really awesome. And I've just selected flashlight for that. Let me do a demonstration. And that's where it just turns on the brightness and makes the screen completely white. It actually works pretty well when you're in the dark. Going back, we have auto lock, and this will have the watch automatically lock so that none of the buttons do anything. You can select when this will happen. I don't like to have that happen because I like to be able to control the watch, but if you were doing an activity where you don't want your watch to change at all, you could definitely turn that on here. Next we have units, and this is where you can change the unit that is displayed for elevation, for weight, things like that. You have tons of options here, and it's all pretty self-explanatory. Going back, we have format, and this is actually pretty important. You can change all of the formats here, but you can also change your GPS format down here and have tons of options, probably 100 different options in here and what they can look like. And then beyond that, you have different GPS formats as well. So you have tons of options in here in the format, and I do recommend looking in there. Next, we have data recording. I like to have it on smart because it conserves the battery and is only doing it when I'm actually moving, but you can also have it every second. After that, we have USB mode, and this is what it does when you plug it into your computer. If you use the Garmin Connect app on your computer, then you'd want to have it on Garmin. But other than that, you can actually store data on this watch, which is pretty cool. Next, we have reset, and this is where you can do a complete factory reset on the watch, or you can just restore the default settings, which leaves all your activities on the watch as well. And then finally, we have software update, and this is where you can have it automatically download and install any firmware updates from Garmin. So those are the system settings on your Garmin Instinct. If you have any questions about this, leave a comment below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you'd like to see more Garmin Instinct tutorial videos, check the link in the description. If this video helped you, give it a thumbs up. And please consider subscribing to my channel, Gauging Gadgets, more gadget reviews and tech tutorials. Thank you so much for watching.